This is not getting discussed on the mainstream media. Not only are they wrong legally, but the fact that they would do this is outrageous. This is an overreaction and really nonsense. How would you react if this was your son or your daughter? It's the offense of knowing the truth. It's the offense of having an alternate worldview. Saying God bless you to someone is not a violation of the law.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the broadcast. We want you to talk about what you will be doing to pray for Saeed Abedini. There's vigils going on around the country. Let's get the list of the countries that have planned vigils as we commemorate the third year of Saeed Abedini's incarceration. And we're going to be taking your comments on the phones. If you're praying for Saeed and his family, call us and let us know what you're doing. If you're concerned about the situation with Saeed, we want to hear from you in Iran. Logan will also be taking calls via comments via Periscope and Facebook.
That's right. We're already taking your comments right now on Facebook.com/JSekulow, or go to the JSekulow page, or go to Periscope. Type in JSekulow. You can find us here broadcasting live. We're already taking comments down. Be a part of the show.
Jordan, I think it'd be helpful right now, we've got about 2 minutes here in this segment, to recast for everybody why Saeed Abedini is in jail.
He is in jail because of his Christian faith, and that is why. It's because he is Pastor Saeed Abedini. And so he is imprisoned because of his work with churches dating back to more than a decade ago in Iran, when he did not face legal trouble, did not face any charges. Family was living there and worked with churches at a time period in Iran where that was pretty acceptable activity and wasn't being punished with imprisonment, and certainly not a perfect place to be as a Christian, but was much different than when Ahmadinejad came in, and then now this current regime, the Rouhani presidency in Iran. Ultimately, of course, this all flows back to the power of the Ayatollah. And to second that, I'd say it's also because of his American citizenship. He is an American, and like the other 3 Americans, one missing, 2 others in prison, that is also something that cannot be ignored. So it's this two-pronged. In Iran's eyes, it's because he's a Christian, and in our country's eyes, it's his American citizenship as well.
We're getting a lot of comments coming in. Logan was just telling me as Jordan was communicating what happened here about the Pope, and I need to clarify something for people. What was the question that's coming in?
A lot of people, I mean, that is the majority of the questions right now. People are just writing about the Pope and exactly why he hasn't said necessarily something about Saeed publicly when he's gone and talked about other issues.
He is, I will tell you this, the Vatican is fully engaged. The Pope is going to be personally engaged on this. He's had a request from the President of the United States. He's had a request from Naghmeh Abedini. He's had a request from the UN General Assembly. And I will tell you, I'll talk more about when we come back from the break. It's a good question. I'm glad people are asking with the Pope being here, but I want you to know that. I want everybody to know that angle is being worked, that issue is being worked. And 1,134,000 people have signed our petition for freeing Saeed. Will you join it today? ACLJ.org or 1-877-989-2255. ACLJ.org or 1-877-989-2255. Back with your calls in a moment.
American pastor Saeed Abedini has now been imprisoned in Iran for 3 years. 3 years without his family. 3 years of beatings and abuse. This past weekend, millions of people around the globe held prayer vigils for Pastor Saeed. More than 900 vigils in more than 40 countries. This week, the focus is on the United Nations in New York. Among the world leaders in the spotlight, Iran's President Rouhani. The world is watching, and the media asking questions. When will Pastor Saeed and the other imprisoned Americans be returned home? Stand with the American Center for Law and Justice. Keep the pressure on Iran and President Rouhani. Dozens of countries around the globe are advocating for the release of Pastor Saeed. It's time the Obama administration brought these Americans home. Call now, 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255, or you can add your name online, aclj.org.
Folks, 3 years in prison is what Saeed Abedini is suffering right now, and his family's paying the price of that. I want to play for you a statement from Naghmeh, and then I'm going to ask you to take some action here as we work the United Nations and the asking the Pope's involvement. Number 6.
And I asked you to join me in speaking out. It's been 3 years. I've seen my kids cry themselves to sleep. I've been waking up every single morning with excruciating pain of my husband being gone. And again, people ask me how I'm doing. It's through my faith that I'm able to stand up and have joy and peace through the storms, and even stand up and speak. Please use our family, use this example to talk with Iran and address human rights issues, address religious freedom issues, and address Iran on this, on the persecution of religious minorities.
It's interesting that that we have the situation with the Pope here right now, because this, I think, sets up what we're trying to do, folks. Here's what you heard: what Nagme said. That was, by the way, Jordan, that was a series of meetings, or that was the meeting with the Interparliamentarian Group, correct?
That's right, and so that has representatives from all over the world, and over 50 countries have signed a letter. Those parliamentarians that represent over 50 countries, 67 of them representing over 50 countries, signed a letter calling on for Saeed's release.
So what we want you to do is add your name to this petition. You heard now we have over 67 countries represented. We also have over 1,134,000 Americans represented. If you haven't signed this petition for Saeed's release, 3 years and change, because he's basically a prisoner for Christ. That's what it is. We urge you to make that call right now at aclj.org or 1-877-989-2255. aclj.org or 877-989-2255. And there are rallies and vigils going on this weekend all over the world. But let's take some comments and let's take some phone calls.
All right, let's go to the phones. Let's go to Adam, who's calling from California. Adam, welcome to Jay Sekulow Live.
Hi, Adam.
Hello. I'm just, he's a prime example of what's going to happen in the days to come, because he's standing up for the best, military for heaven. But if it was a military soldier for the United States of America that we pay for, maybe they would have had more urgency. But
well, let me tell you this. I think the reality is that the individual is in this situation is in jail for one reason only, and that's what Jordan said, and that's because he is a Christian and he's an American. So, Jordan, those two factors are what sets this apart from everything else.
Absolutely. Obviously, his American citizenship in light of this new deal with Iran. And so that has changed everything. Since the beginning of Saeed's imprisonment nearly 3 years ago, that marked that anniversary, unfortunate anniversary tomorrow, with over 800 prayer vigils happening around the world. And you can be a part of those, SaeedVigil.com. But it's important to note that because of this new relationship between the U.S. and Iran, the diplomatic dialogue, the face-to-face discussions between our top leaders and Iran's top leaders, that has become truly very important to this whole effort, that you can't really separate out the citizenship of the Americans and the reason. They all have a different reason. Whether it's being a former Marine, that's Amir Hekmati, being a journalist, that's Jason Rezaian, former FBI, Robert Levinson, and, of course, in Saeed's case, a Christian pastor. All, though, have one common factor: they're all Americans.
Yeah, and we did not get them released as part of this deal with Iran, which is a tragedy in and of itself. Logan, we do have, if you've got, you could read this maybe, we've got these events going on all over. The prayer vigils are going on all over the world.
Yeah, but people are chiming in about their local churches that are having them. So we're getting a lot of comments on Facebook and Periscope about those specific ones. But there are different countries having it, not just in the States. We have Argentina, Australia. Bear with me; it's going to take a little bit. Belgium, Brazil, Canada, Chile, Czech Republic, Dominican Republic, Ecuador, Germany, India, Ireland, Italy, Japan, Kenya, Mexico, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Nigeria, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, Philippines, Puerto Rico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, South Korea, Spain, Sweden, Thailand, Trinidad, Tobago, Turkey, Uganda, Ukraine, United Kingdom, and of course here in the United States.
And you said a lot of people are also that are on Facebook and Periscope right now.
Before this, I even had this list in front of me. A lot of people were talking about their local churches having vigils in the next day or so.
We are sending out an email today to all of our members around the world, and it says this: American Pastor Saeed Abedini was threatened this week with more prison time, and that is a true development. While being interrogated, he was shocked with the taser gun. The nightmare, we say, must end. We've urged Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the United Nations, with 263,000 letters. You're seeing some of those here. These are actually the last batch. They're going out today. Saturday marks the third anniversary of his imprisonment in Iran. There'll be more than 734 vigils Logan just gave you the 34 countries. The ACLJ International Legal Team and Pastor Saeed's wife met with U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations last week. There's been a series of meetings this week, so we're moving on multiple fronts. If you're doing something in your community for Saeed's release, call us and let us know. We want this to be an encouragement to Naghmeh and her kids. Let's take a comment or a call.
Sure. A lot of comments are coming out right now. People are just shocked about the tasering and these type of things. Because I think in people's minds, you generally think of a prisoner.
Yep.
You think of an American prisoner,
right,
which is not necessarily treated like this while they're incarcerated. So, I mean, it's pretty interesting to see the outcry now when people realize it's more than just a jail sentence.
Yeah, well, let me play for you a comment, an interview that was done by our friends at Newsmax with Naghmeh addressing that very issue that Logan raised about the taser.
And I understand the Iranian government tased and brutally interrogated him this week, and now he's facing new criminal charges.
He is. They as we're talking about better relationships between the two countries, they're harassing and abusing the American citizens. There, a few days ago, they tased my husband. They interrogated him in the most harsh manner, and they brought up new charges against him.
Yeah, let me say one thing, Jordan. If you could do this, answer this for people, because describe, someone said, I think, Logan, they were talking about an American prison and that differential. This is not an American prison.
No, this is, you
People
cannot think of the justice system, the prison system. These are overrun with, prisons set up for 1,000 people with 5,000, pretty out of control situations, even for the high profile prisoners like Saeed, and the way that they're treated. So Saeed this week was tasered multiple times in a new round of interrogation. So physical abuse this week, while the world is meeting at the United Nations, the Pope is in the United States, the Iranian president is on U.S. soil, landed yesterday, and will be speaking to the United Nations tomorrow. And during that week, just a couple days ago, Saeed, approaching his third anniversary, was physically abused once again by the prison authorities and by interrogators in Iran.
Again, folks, sign up in support of Saeed, aclj.org or 877-989-2255. We urge you to do it. Let's take another call.
Sure. We're going to go to Tom. Tom, what's your question or comment today?
Hey, Tom.
My question is, I was just wondering why our most holiest Pope's over here, and he has not said one word about it.
Well, that's not true. So let me play for you what he said about the persecuted church just moments ago to the United Nations General Assembly.
Regretting to have to do so, I must renew my repeated appeals regarding the painful situation of the entire Middle East, North Africa, and other African countries, where Christians, together with other cultural or ethnic groups, and even members of the majority religion who have no desire to be caught up in hatred and folly, have been forced to witness the destruction of the places of worship, their cultural and religious heritage, their houses and property, and have faced the alternative either of fleeing or of paying for their adhesion to good and to peace by their own lives or by enslavement.
So the Pope has raised the issue of the persecution of the Middle East. The reason you're not hearing Saeed's name mentioned in speeches, Jordan, very quickly, we're coming up on a break, is because the Holy See's working on the release. They're part of the multinational parties we're dealing with.
That's right, and they have been previously even to this Pope's visit, but certainly heightened attention because of the UN, because the Pope's decision to address the United Nations, the 70th anniversary of the General Assembly, and all of the the Iranian president being here, the Iran deal moving forward. This is a critical time to extend and increase the pressure.
We have 1,300,000 signatures for the release of Saeed Abedini. It's a phenomenal response. We are trying to grow it as he still is in jail. This is a day as we commemorate the third anniversary of his incarceration in Iran. For the sake of Naghmeh, Jacob, and Rebecca, go to aclj.org right now or call us at 1-877-989-2255 and sign on to that petition, aclj.org or 877-989-2255. And also, respond to our email that's been sent out today. Please respond to that as well. Back with more in a moment.
American Pastor Saeed Abedini has now been imprisoned in Iran for 3 years. 3 years without his family. 3 years of beatings and abuse. This past weekend, millions of people around the globe held prayer vigils for Pastor Saeed, more than 900 vigils in more than 40 countries. This week, the focus is on the United Nations in New York. Among the world leaders in the spotlight, Iran's President Rouhani. The world is watching, and the media asking questions. When will Pastor Saeed and the other imprisoned Americans be returned home? Stand with the American Center for Law and Justice. Keep the pressure on Iran and President Rouhani. Dozens of countries around the globe are advocating for the release of Pastor Saeed. It's time the Obama administration brought these Americans home. Call now 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255, or you can add your name online, aclj.org.
As we've used multimedia sources to raise the awareness of Saeed's case, we've also used music. Our Sekulow band put together a song called Where I Stand. There's a line in that song that says, "My heart is crying." That was actually the words penned by Jacob Abedini. Here's that song.
Guided by lies that deceive.
that is a song that we've done called "Where I Stand," and that line in there is actually from Jacob Abedini. Now my heart is crying, so that is from him. I do think we need let's take a phone call here and take some comments as well, and then continue this conversation. We got a lot of calls coming in.
Sure, let's go back to the phones. Let's go to William, who's calling from Macon, Georgia. William, welcome to Jay Sekulow Live.
Hi, William.
Hey, Jay. Hey, Jordan. Real quick, I got a question and a comment. My question is this. First of all, what are these charges that they put against Pastor Saeed Abedini?
All right, so I think it's a great question. What are the actual charges brought against Pastor Saeed? Jordan, because we know he's in jail because he's a Christian and he's an Iranian and an American. Born Iranian, became an American, and he's a Christian. We've actually seen the documents here. I mean, we've worked on this case long enough that we know what's going on. But they always use this national security tag as the main reason, right?
Yeah, all the three Americans in prison right now in Iran, similar charges. There's some unique to each of their backgrounds. So in Saeed's case, as a former Christian pastor, it was attempting to undermine the national security of Iran through work, illegal assemblies, and basically that was the house churches and the churches. So that was seen as a national security crime, and that is also a common denominator between the three Americans who we know are being imprisoned right now in Iran. All three with national security crimes.
So 1,134,000 people have signed our petition for Saeed's release. 263,000 of you have sent letters to the United Nations. These are letters, individual names on each one of these letters. We need you to join with us if you haven't already done so. ACLJ.org or 1-877-989-2255 to sign on to this. ACLJ.org or 1-877-989-2255. Do it for Naghmeh. Do it for Jacob. Do it for Rebecca. It's that important. We got a lot of comments coming in on. I know a lot of you are also on Periscope and Facebook said they're participating in vigils.
That's right. Plenty of them. It seems like there's one in South San Francisco. Someone just posted that they're going to be at a vigil coming up here in the next little bit.
Let Logan know that. We're going to raid those
off.
Yeah,
let us know for sure where you're coming in from. We'll do our best to get those on the air. One other person asked, we asked it during the break, but we talked about, wasn't the Pope instrumental in getting Miriam Ibrahim released?
Yeah, I mean, the Pope, the Holy See, the Pope did a great job in helping us with Miriam Ibrahim's case. We've asked the same thing here for Saeed Abedini's. We've also now asked Ban Ki-moon, because the president hasn't been able to do it, that's for sure. And that's one of the reasons why we are now, and we've been doing this in multiple ways.
There is a comment related to that. Someone asked if Naghmeh has met with the president recently, if there are any updates from the
White House?
From the administration.
Let me turn that over to Jordan. He's not met with Naghmeh since the meeting in, was that February or March? But Jordan, there's been communication from the State Department. I don't know what you're allowed to say or not say, but do you want to address that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's been work and engagement, and at the highest level of the United States. So the question I think now is how committed it is ultimately to seeing this through and getting this done, and maybe that has shifted somewhat now that the nuclear deal has moved forward, that this has become a higher priority, because certainly during those discussions it was a back burner, and almost admittedly so by the administration.
What's happened also is, understand this, folks, and we're, by the way, we're on radio today, we're on Facebook, we're on Periscope, our television audience is with us here. This is a big issue. This week, Josh Earnest made this statement about Saeed Abedini. Here we go.
What I will say is simply that the president has made clear that our efforts to try to secure the safe return of those Americans that are unjustly held inside of Iran, those efforts continue. And they continue to be a priority of this administration and of the president personally.
But we lost a huge leverage point when we had the deal executed, a bad deal with Iran, only made worse by the fact that we did not get the release of the Americans. I mean, it just made that deal worse than it already was. All right, let's take another comment.
Sure, a couple comments coming in. A person will be joining. Mike will be at a vigil in Milton, New Hampshire.
Great.
Let's go take a call. Leah's calling from Danville, Virginia. Welcome to Jay Sekulow Live.
Hi, Leah.
Great that we focus on the churches, but we also need to focus on independent news agencies, and it is required of you to implement justice, and not just a token statement here and there. It's keeping on it, like the ACLJ does, keeps on it. It's going to cause the breakthrough.
I will tell you this, Leah. Here's some good news. I mean, we mentioned Newsmax is covering it. I know Breitbart's covered it. WorldNet Daily's covered it. I can have Fox News. I mean, are we up on Fox News today with my op-ed? I believe. I'll check on that. We'll encourage people to go there. So we are getting multimedia approaches. And Logan, internally, we have done our own within social media. We have put out a lot. We're reaching on social media alone. We reach up to 4 million, just shy of 4 million people a day.
Right, and every post, not just today. Every time you post out, it goes to at least that many people as well. Yeah, we've created a full-length movie that talks about Saeed, a documentary. We're constantly creating different versions and different ways for people to get engaged and to hear this story.
Awareness, Jordan, is a key, and we have, effectively, between Naghmeh's efforts, our efforts, people now know the Saeed Abedini story, including now over 100 members of governmental parliaments from 67 countries. So people know the Saeed story.
Yeah, that's right. And they know it because of the advocacy, because of the work that's been done, because people have signed petitions, because they've spoken out. And over this horrible 3 years, people have been willing, when necessary, to kind of kick back into gear, if you will. And that's why I think it speaks to the level of support when there are hundreds of more prayer vigils this year than there were last year. And so even though we kind of speak to people, we're used to kind of this 24-hour get things done quick, this is one of those highly complicated situations made more complicated by a nuclear deal. So, just think about that. Put that into full context, and then realize all of the different avenues you've been able to be active in already for Saeed, and you're going to be on.
And you're going to be on air on Fox News. Is it tomorrow?
Yep, tomorrow evening at 6:30 with Naghmeh, discussing the prayer vigils going on, the advocacy that's been done over the last couple of weeks specific to the UN, the international parliamentarians, the Pope's visit, and working with members of Congress. And Naghmeh was at the joint session of Congress when the Pope addressed it yesterday.
And which is great. This is a picture, actually, of Naghmeh with Samantha Powers, our U.S. UN ambassador. So at least that's moving forward. Folks, sign that petition for Saeed today, aclj.org or 1-877-989-2255. And I also urge you to support the work of the ACLJ at aclj.org.
American Pastor Saeed Abedini has now been imprisoned in Iran for 3 years. 3 years without his family. 3 years of beatings and abuse. This past weekend, millions of people around the globe held prayer vigils for Pastor Saeed, more than 900 vigils in more than 40 countries. This week, the focus is on the United Nations in New York. Among the world leaders in the spotlight, Iran's President Rouhani. The world is watching, and the media asking questions. When will Pastor Saeed and the other imprisoned Americans be returned home? Stand with the American Center for Law and Justice. Keep the pressure on Iran and President Rouhani. Dozens of countries around the globe are advocating for the release of Pastor Saeed. It's time the Obama administration brought these Americans home. Call now, 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255, or you can add your name online, aclj.org.